Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a brand new video, brand new reading and channel messages. Now, this video, Crisis of Faith, this topic has been on my mind for a couple of weeks now because I've been going through my own little mini crisis of faith. Today is going to be a pretty big video. There's going to be a lot that we're going to cover, and I did pull some cards to kind of help guide the reading, but those were just confirmation of everything that I was already feeling. So let's first get into why this video. What have I been experiencing? What have I been seeing? What is bringing all this up? You might be going through this. You might be going through another level of ascension, another level of awakening that is bringing about a lot of questions, maybe some doubt. You might be feeling a little bit in the void. You might be going through a little mini dark night of the soul. It's all the same thing. It's that silence. What happens when you question your faith? What happens when you question yourself? So in my community, not this community as far as YouTube, but the greater spiritual community that I belong to, I have been seeing some diverting perspectives. Let's call it that. I've been seeing a lot of people that I have spoken with personally, communicated and connected with personally, reverting or back to religion or denouncing or denying aspects of spirituality that they had once belonged to or they had once believed in. Even in my own physical world, very, very close to me, I'm seeing a lot of people who I have a high amount of respect for being drawn into negative, let's say it, more fear-based grids, more fear-based mindsets and perspectives. I say all of this without judgment. I say all of this because I feel like it was brought to my attention for me to really more firmly examine within myself, what do I believe? Where do I stand? So I do want to have this disclaimer. There is no judgment, absolutely no judgment. There is various perspectives. Everybody's path is their own. Everybody is walking their own path up the same mountain. So everybody has their own perspectives. Everybody has their own experiences. This is just mine that I'm sharing here today, in the hopes that if you're experiencing something similar, it might help you, or, at the same time, this helps me learn and grow and expand, because it is an energy exchange. Not only that, but this helps me to process. Talking with you guys helps me to process and receive more information than when I'm kind of stuck in my ego mind. So I've been seeing all of these different things happening. I also want to have a disclaimer here and say that anytime, there are people even in that community who are denouncing tarot as a whole. And so I want to have this disclaimer and just say that I have always worked with tarot in the mindset of it being a tool to help focus and explore your connection to source energy. Whenever I am doing readings, I always invoke the Holy Spirit, my divine channel to pure, my divine link to pure divine source energy, Mother, Father, God, whatever it is that you want to call it. Throughout this video, I'll be interspersing, calling it God or source energy, but it is that Mother, Father, pure divine energy that exists within all of us. It is that higher power, that creator energy, but I'll be interchanging the words between source and God. I do like source better because I feel like it encapsulates everything for me. It encapsulates the mother and the father figure, whereas God for me, because I did grow up Catholic, or at least until I was confirmed and then I left the church, because I grew up Catholic, that has that connotation for me, and I do like, it is just a label. It is just that creator energy. It is just that pure divine love energy. But everybody's perspectives and mileage and what they feel comfortable with will vary. So that being said, I have always been a spiritual person. I lost some of that, or I got a little bit lost in my life. Even when I was very, very young, I was connecting with angels, and I didn't realize that until I reconnected on this ascension journey. But it's so funny because even on Facebook lately, some of my memories that have been cropping up are talking about manifestation, talking about God, talking about angels, talking about channeling, I didn't use those words, but it's the same essence going back years and years and years, even decades, from the very beginning for me. And so I didn't have the language that we tend to use in the conscious spiritual community, but that's okay because it's all about the essence. Tarot is all about just connecting to yourself, helping you to focus the energy. For me, tarot and oracle cards helped me to really believe in myself and what I was receiving. And there came a point where years ago, I wasn't even using the cards to connect. I discovered that as I was doing some past lifetime readings. I wasn't even using the cards. I was just allowing myself to be open and receiving and trusting the visions and the messages that I was getting. But the cards really helped me to focus that, and I still use the cards because, quite frankly, I love them. I love the artwork, and they help me to really focus and believe in myself and trust in myself. But that all comes from within. Years and years ago, early 2000s, 2008, 2007, something like that, I began taking psychic development courses. That's when I was really having that awakening. I was having experiences. I was having visions. I was getting downloads. And I found myself as I was writing being my primary source of connection to myself and to God. As I was writing, I found myself stepping back from myself and receiving answers from the universe. I called them conversations with the universe. And as you guys know, I now have a message deck called Conversations with the Universe, but I used to do that on my old blog, where I now realize it was my ego stepping back and source stepping forward, that divine channel stepping forward. And even now, as I connect to my galactic team and my Dragon Council and my spirit team, Ascended Masters, Guardian Angels, it's all coming through source energy because everything is connected to source energy. So that's the mindset that I'm coming from. That's the perspective and the experience that I'm coming from with everything that I do. Everything comes through divine source energy itself. We all have that direct line to God. I just connect through different facets, different spirit teams. When I'm calling in Kali Ma, when I'm calling in Jesus, when I'm calling in Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene, or other spirit team, dragons, or galactics. It's with the knowledge that it's all connected through source. They might just have specific experiences. They might just have specific messages through their energy, through their experiences, through their learning, through their perspectives. So everything for me is connected to that divine source energy, is connected to the higher frequency of love. And I talk about this in my intuitive tarot course. If you want to learn tarot with me, it's all about trusting the intuition. We talk about invoking God, invoking divine source energy, invoking your spirit team, having that energy of protection. But it's not just about protection. It is about connecting more fully to yourself and connecting to the energy of God within. That is you. And we talk about that all the time on both of my channels here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections and on my main channel, Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. It is all about the connection between you and Source, you being an aspect of Source energy, and the interconnectedness with all being an aspect of source energy, having our own individual experiences. That's why I say we are all on our own paths. They might seem familiar, they might seem similar, we might be part of a same segment within the collective, within the greater collective of all. But we're all having our beautiful divine human experiences, our unique human experiences, because that is our expansion, is what helps God expand. God being the energy of consciousness itself. And so in my intuitive tarot course, this is what we talk about. We talk about, number one, tarot just being a tool. Number two, the connection that you have as a divine channel, as a divine messenger, that everybody is able to do what I do. I don't do anything special. Yes, I am special in and of myself. You are special in and of yourself. But everybody has this connection to source, and that is how you are special, through your connection to source. So the energy of being special is we are all one. We are all beautiful threads, unique, special threads in the tapestry of creation. So you might express yourself in a special way, in a unique way. But we all have this ability to connect to our intuition, to connect to God's source, to connect to each other. We all just do so from different angles, different perspectives, different methods, different experiences, different expressions. And so also in that intuitive course, we talk about what it is to express yourself as a divine channel. So I'll put the link to that in the description box below. But what I do here on the channel, this is how I embody in everyday life. This is what I was doing even before I was a tarot reader. I've always been the empath. I've always been that person that people have always come to, and I've always been channeling when I've been talking with people. You do the same thing. It's all about the heart space. When you're connecting to your heart space, you're connecting to your soul self. And so when you're speaking, not with your logical mind, I'll use the example of my writing. I'm an intuitive writer. I don't know how else to put it. I just let the words flow, and they just naturally come, to the point where my friends are like, how did you do that? That is my gift. It is a gift that everybody has in different expressions. Some people are gifted in understanding mathematics. Some people are gifted in understanding geometry or sacred geometry or engineering or angles. Some people are gifted in music, the expression of music. Some people are gifted in the expression of art. Some people are gifted in the expression of the body, what makes the body work, what makes the body healthy. Everybody has unique expressions, and words are my gift. They always have been. It's always, I've always wanted to be a writer, but it's always because I felt so intuitively attuned to words and the magic of words and the vibration that they hold. So when I'm writing, it just comes naturally. But there was a time when I was forcing it. There was a time when I needed to do more technical writing. I was writing reviews. I was writing restaurant menus. I was doing all this. That was using my logic mind, and it didn't feel so natural then, because I wasn't connecting to my intuitive nature. I wasn't connecting to the heart. So it was very different energy. So whatever it is that you're doing, even if you're just speaking to a stranger or a friend or a family member or a partner, when you're doing it from the heart space, you are naturally attuned. Thus, you're naturally attuned to God's source energy, because you're attuned to your sacred soul self, that being God, that being source energy itself, that being love. And another thing that I talk about in my intuitive tarot course is, if it is not in the vibration of love, if you are receiving messages and it feels draining and it feels negative, it feels critical, it feels toxic, that is not source energy. That is not your spirit team working in the essence of love. That is the shadow sides. That is the negative light. How do I call this? What do I call this? That is the darkness. If we're going to pin darkness against light, that would be the shadow. That would be the darkness. That is not, it would be negative entities. That is not source energy. Tough love, yes. Sometimes spirit comes in with some nudging, some pushing, some tough love messages, but it is always, always, always in the energy of love. Always, hands down. If it's not in the energy of love, again, if it feels critical, if it feels heavy, it might trigger you. That's not to say it might not trigger you. The messages might trigger you, but it will never make you feel drained. It will never make you feel hate. It will never make you feel critical of yourself or of others. It would never hold judgment. It will never hold lack of forgiveness, lack of mercy, lack of grace. Grace, mercy, forgiveness are all energies of God's source. And so it's all the energy of love. Source works in the energy of love. That is how you know that you are connecting to God's source energy. So if you want to learn more about that, even if you're not interested in tarot, feel free to check out my tarot and translation course below at the link below, or www.tarotandtranslation.com. So I say all of this as a disclaimer, so I want you guys to know where I am, or where I am coming from, where I've always come from on this channel, and through my work, through my personal readings, through these collective readings, and through how I embody my own sacred self and source energy in my everyday life. That does not mean that I don't go through my rough times. That does not mean that I don't have my own shadow aspects. But I'm also recognizing where I have always been connecting to source energy and bringing that connection back. So I have been seeing some denouncing of these tools in the community, or reverting back to religion, or the confines of religion in this community. And also people very close to me holding on to these it just feels very pulled down into negative energy. It just feels pulled down into lower vibrations, into division, into lack mindset, into fear-based grids. Now, that's not to say that there isn't truth in what they're saying, or what they're seeing, or what's being presented. There is truth there. But for me, I cannot let myself be pulled down into those negative energies, those negative fear-based grids, because that is what we create. I do not want to create that. That's not spiritual bypassing. I'm bringing it to my awareness. It is in my awareness. I allow myself to read, to understand, to be aware, but then I transmute. I don't cling to those negative agendas. I don't cling to those negative toxic energies, because there's infiltration on both sides. Let me make that clear. There is infiltration that is happening on both sides, that is creating the separation, that is creating the division. And my job, at the very least, is to bridge that gap and to bring us into unity consciousness, to hold that light. And last year, as I went down that rabbit hole, because Spirit wanted me to know, Spirit wanted me to see what was actually happening, to broaden my awareness, to broaden my horizon, to see truth, and see beyond what is being presented as truth. So they brought me down the rabbit hole, but they said very clearly that my job was to maintain and hold the light, to maintain and hold that high vibration, to not get sucked into either side. And when I'm talking about either side, I'm seeing what's being presented in the news, what's not being presented in the news. This is creating greater division. And so I'm going to link you guys to the description box below to those 3 readings. It was Hold the Light, Be the Light, Light the Way, something like that. There are 3 readings that I did about what we are experiencing. There is a huge timeline split that is happening right now. There are those who are ascending into higher consciousness and shifting dimensions. As you shift dimensions, you're shifting consciousness. I should say, as you're shifting consciousness, you're shifting dimensions. There are those who are ascending into higher consciousness because they're walking the middle path, recognizing that it's not the blue pill, it's not the red pill, it is the middle path. It's not the negative, it's not the positive, it is the middle way, it is that balance. And your job is to hold that light and maintain that balance of that higher frequency, of that higher consciousness. We are transcending duality constructs, and there are those who are still being trapped, even those who are on this awakening ascension journey, who are getting caught in this karmic loop, who are getting trapped in this loop of just division and negative mindsets, and it's lower consciousness by another name. So I've been experiencing this little bit of a crisis of faith, asking questions, because I've been seeing this in my physical world, and I'm asking myself, am I missing something? What am I missing? Because I've always gotten that my job is to hold the light. And again, my path is my path. Everybody's path might be different. There are those who are truth seekers. There are those who are meant to be sharing different perspectives and sharing their truth for the masses to awaken. My job specifically is to hold the light, to hold that high vibration, because I know what happens to myself if that descends, if I let myself sink down that rabbit hole. That's not to say that I'm not aware. Let me make that perfectly clear. That's not to say that I am not aware. I'm very much aware, just like I'm very much aware of my shadow sides, my own personal shadow sides. I work through and transmute that. For the collective shadow, I'm aware of and work through and transmute that. My job here is to maintain the light and hold the light. But my crisis of faith was, am I missing something? Is there a missing piece of the puzzle that other people are seeing that are making them denounce terror, that are making them revert back to religion, that are making them just cling to what they're seeing or not seeing in the news, or what they're seeing in non-mainstream media, that are clinging to basically apocalyptic fears? And I'm saying, what am I missing? And so I've had conversations with soul family. I've had conversations with my divine masculine. I've had conversations with God. And what it keeps coming back to for me is allow yourself to trust what you are feeling, what you're being called to. And what I personally am being called to is maintaining my high vibrations, to not get sucked into what other people are doing, but to honor myself and my path. So this is not my first crisis of faith. This is not my first dark night of the soul. And I want to make it clear, this is not a dark night of the soul. I've been through those. Dark nights of the soul are where you feel completely lost. And if you're just going through your first awakening or through your first ascension process, and I say that because there are many, many levels of awakening. The more we think we know, the more there is to know and understand. That is the energy of expansion. That is how we shift in consciousness, by growing, by going deeper and deeper and deeper within ourselves, and realizing that there is so much more than our limited egoic minds, our human constructs, tends to think. There's so much more, and it's going deeper and deeper and deeper within the inner spiral. Knowing yourself more fully allows you to know God more fully, know your connection more fully, to understand that there is so much more. But sometimes we get a little bit lost. Sometimes it feels like God is silent. Sometimes it feels like we are in a void. So this is not my first crisis of faith. And when I say it's a crisis of faith, I mean it's very, very minute, because deep within, I know my truth. Deep within, I know what is real for me, but that isn't stopping me from questioning and having those questions. And this time it's very interesting because I'm more aware of that. It's almost like I'm being called to pull back and be the observer and saying, okay, I'm recognizing what is happening. The past 2 days, I have been shut down completely. Not shut down from my connection to God or to Source, but shut down as in I just slept for 2 days. And as I was sleeping, because number one, there's a lot of light codes that are coming into the planet, we need to clear out more of that dense, heavy energy that is within us, more of those fear grids that are within us, in order to anchor in that light. I did just do a light language transmission to help us anchor in that light. But I needed to shut down. I needed to rest my physical body because I was just go, go, go. I needed to rest my physical body in order for my soul self to quiet, in order for me to be in solitude, to connect more deeply to myself and to Source, to God. And so for the past few days, I have had various experiences in dream state where I was healing old wounding, old trauma, past lifetimes were coming up between me and my counterpart. That was healing, recognition of that healing was taking place, but also I was having conversations, again, with God, and Mother God came in to speak with me. And I had so many questions, and she was presenting herself as Mother God because I needed that nurturing energy. I needed that nurturing vessel. I needed that for myself, for the child, the inner child, the soul child that I was. I needed to speak to God as that parental figure. And so she came in as Mother God. And I was asking questions, and she said, where are you not trusting? Where are you not having faith in yourself? Where are you not having faith in me? Where are you not having faith or believing in love? And don't you understand that it all exists within you? And so what I began to see was a vision of me just bursting with light energy, almost like something from a Marvel movie, bursting with light energy and rising higher and higher into the astral realm. I was in the astral realm, and I was picking up a sword, and they said, no, that's not your job. You are a warrior in various respects, but this is not your job. This is not how you fight the darkness. You fight the darkness, Susan, by shining your light. And so I set down that very physical sword. My sword was my truth. My sword was my light. And so I saw myself rising higher into the cosmos and just shining so brightly that it became a beacon of light. Now, I say that with the utmost of humility. The utmost of humility. With every lack of superiority, every lack of spiritual ego, I say that with the utmost of humility. This was just my experience. And I say that you are having your own light. You are your own light. You are shining so brightly, especially if you are here and these messages are resonating with you. You will feel this for yourself. But however it is that you are doing your work, it is what is meant for you. For some, you are picking up that sword and fighting the darkness in that way. For others, you are being that beacon of light. It will resonate with everybody differently. I'm just sharing my own perspective with the utmost of humility. So, also, it was very interesting what happened as I was... one of the very last messages that I received was to go back and watch a show that I had watched back in my college days, Joan of Arcadia. It's a very old show. I had only watched it because I was a fan of the actress in it from when I used to watch soap operas and stuff when I was very young and sick and home from school. And so I only watched it, but it was, I guess, part of my awakening as well. Everything being a layer, everything leading me, being a building block for me. And it was funny because last night I was watching it. I was watching some of the old episodes, and it was talking about Ascension, one of the art pieces in the show, as one of the storylines. The art piece was Ascension, and I just looked at my Divine Masculine who was sitting near me, and I just looked at him and I'm like, this is what we're talking about. This is everything that we're talking about. I didn't understand it back then because I wasn't ready. Everything in my life has served as a building block to this point, here and now. Even those crises of faith, even those dark nights of the soul where I felt so incredibly lost, those dark nights, those episodes and instances of silence forced us to go deeper within ourselves. In the silence is when we're really forced to listen. And so what was really interesting about that is I was seeing that show from a fresh angle. It wasn't entertainment. And it wasn't even entertainment back then. It was philosophy. It was understanding. It was growth and expansion, an awakening to my faith, even though I didn't recognize it as such because I didn't have the words or the consciousness as such until now. So I'm being called to revisit it, and there's so much truth. And I realize that everything that comes into our awareness serves a purpose for our growth, for our understanding, for our expansion. And one of those things that happened within that show, the episode that I was called to, was she was experiencing a crisis of faith. She was experiencing doubt. For those of you, I should say this, for those of you who don't know the premise of the show, it's about a teenage girl who talks to God, sees and talks to God, God presenting itself as everyday people. And one of the cruxes of the premise of that show is that people don't always recognize God when God is there. People don't always recognize God in everything, the interconnectedness of all things. That God works through, moves through each of us. And so when we're talking with a stranger, when we are connecting with an animal, when we're connecting with our family members in the divine essence of love, that is God, that is source energy itself, but we don't always recognize it. We don't always recognize the miracles that are right there in front of us. And so she was going through this crisis of faith, and that was really helping me understand what I was going through. I was going through a little bit of a crisis of faith, doubt, feeling like I was missing something, feeling like I was missing some piece of the puzzle, when really I was just missing myself. And so these crises of faiths are just calls to surrender. They're actually drawing us closer to God, asking us to get closer to ourselves, to really listen to ourselves, to shut out the noise. Not last night, the night before last, so I've been in bed for 2 days, and the night before last, I was experiencing a bit of a psychic attack. It was tons of negative energy, negative thoughts that just kept coming at me, old energy, old thoughts. old things that I'd already cleared and transmuted back into the energy of love that were coming back up again. Anger and misery and depression and criticism and all this stuff. And it's funny, I was up for 3 hours experiencing this. This wasn't just in dream state. I was literally up and my mind was so active, and it was a rebirth process. I recognize that now. That's what Spirit is telling me now, is a rebirth process. The ego was being shed to transmute back into love. And I was doing that in real time because I kept saying to myself, I don't want to be experiencing this. I transmuted this. I've already brought this to my awareness. I don't feel this. I don't feel this anger. I don't feel this resentment. I don't feel this depressed. I don't feel this criticism of myself or of others. Why am I experiencing this? And so that's when I was able to bring in the energy of God, bring in that light source, connect more fully to God to clear that. I connected to God to clear that, to negate that, to neutralize that energy, that negative energy. And that's when I felt just this beautiful light energy come in. That's when I began to have these conversations with God about what it was that I was experiencing. I was experiencing this clearing, experiencing this releasing of collective energy and any energy still within myself that was attaching to old timelines of fear, of negativity, of criticism, of the false matrix. So that's interesting. That's what they're saying now. So, we experiencing these dark nights of the souls. We experience these voids. We experience these crises of faith to draw us back closer to God itself. We question. We say, am I going crazy? Am I delusional for believing in this? What actually do I believe? What actually am I connecting to? When God goes silent, he's actually asking us to go deep within, to trust in ourselves, to go deep within to our own solitude, to our own wisdom, to our own knowing. That is what the intuition is all about. It's about trusting the faith. That's what faith is all about. Faith sometimes doesn't have reason. It's about trusting in what you are receiving in the highest form of love, the highest octave of love. And there's a quote from Joan of Arcadia that I wrote down. It's not really faith if there's no crisis. In the times of silence is when you're really called to go within and surrender to your own inner wisdom, to your own inner knowing, without the doubt, without the questioning. But we question to understand. And I want to read you guys something. As I was preparing for this video, because I knew it was going to be a big one, I was channeling some messages. And I said, we question the why. This is what a crisis of faith is. This is what a dark night of the soul is, that feeling lost, that being in the void is. It's because we are questioning. But what I said is the questions themselves are what helps us to grow. It's not the answers. It's the questions themselves that help us to grow, because it's in the questions that we discover the journey back to ourselves and our connection to God. It's the questions themselves that help us journey into understanding the interconnectedness between all things with all consciousness. And what is God but pure consciousness? It's the questions themselves. It's not the answers that are important. It's the questions that help us go deep within ourselves to connect to God, to connect to our own wisdom, to connect to our own inner knowing, because we are one with God. So it's the questions, and that's why we have these crises of faith. It's not so much a test. It is an opportunity to go deep within ourselves, to surrender to ourselves, to our own inner knowing, to our own faith, to our own understanding. And understanding that God only operates in the energy of love, so that we connect back to that energy of love. Okay. Wow. So I pulled some cards here, and I do feel like I want to talk a little bit about them, because a lot of it is validation, a lot of it is confirmation. So the first cards that I pulled was from the Angels of Atlantis deck, and the first card that came out was this courage. This is giving you an opportunity to find that strength, find that courage deep within yourself. to go deeper. And what they're showing me here are these two worlds. This is a little bit about what we are experiencing now. We might be experiencing a split where it almost feels like we're operating in different timelines with our loved ones, with our family, with the collective, with the world at large, where it feels like, are they seeing what I'm seeing? Are they experiencing what I'm seeing? And remember that everybody has their own perspective. Everybody has their own experiences. We're still all connected in that oneness, but we might be experiencing different shifts. Everybody is where they're meant to be. Everybody is experiencing their own level of consciousness, and that level of consciousness is still connected to God's source. So don't think that you're not connected to God's source energy itself, or that another person is not connected to God's source energy itself. That's where we have to release the judgment, and we have to recognize where we are in a place of judgment by saying, oh, they're being negative, or they're being fear-based, or they're, doing this, or they're not doing this, especially in current events. Oh, they're doing this, so they're this, they're lower consciousness, they're this. They're doing that, so they're lower consciousness. There is a shift in consciousness that is happening, but we release the judgment because everybody's souls is where they're meant to be. Everybody is experiencing what they're meant to be. Everybody is connected to source energy itself still. But there is a little bit of a split that is happening right now on this planet. So it might bring up these crises of faith. What is happening? Why aren't they seeing what I'm seeing? Why aren't they experiencing what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing? It's because of consciousness shifts. That's all it is. Everybody's going through this process of ascension, but everybody goes through the path or up the path at their own pace, at their soul's pace, and in their own time, at their own rate. How else do I put this? For those of you who are experiencing that higher level of consciousness where you have transcended those fear-based grids, you're not clinging or attaching to those fear-based grids, it's because you are meant to be a guide for others and hold that light. Now, they're reminding me that we have never experienced this before. We have experienced the descent into lower consciousness, but we have never, in physical human form, on this physical this physical earth plane, we have never experienced the ascension into higher consciousness, a shift in dimension as a collective. We have in segments, but never as a collective, never in this great capacity. And so that's part of the split that we are seeing as well. That's why it takes great patience. That's why it takes great love and compassion for all beings, because we are all going through this ascension journey as a whole. But we are paving the way. Now, that does not mean that you are superior. We release any spiritual ego. That we do this with great humility. This is part of our mission. This is part of our purpose. This is why we came here, to pave the way for others to learn, to grow, to expand, to understand themselves and their own connection to source energy. So there is a split that is happening that might have us questioning our role, that might have us questioning our connection to God, that might have us questioning what it is we're seeing on the physical plane. But as we know, through this journey, we have to trust our intuition. We have to trust the energy of love. We have to trust what it is that we are receiving and where we are meant to be on our individual paths. Because every path paves the way. We have to have the courage to transcend the illusion of the physical plane and go deep within to the love source within us. Again, this is not spiritual bypassing. This is not just allowing for love of light. This love and light, and only that. This is recognizing that we are love and light. And we are transmuting the shadows through that. We are recognizing the darkness. We are acknowledging the darkness. We do not deny the darkness. We do not deny the duality with which we have been encased. But what we are doing is we are having the courage to transcend that, to transmute that through the love that we are, through holding the light within ourselves. through trusting in our own journeys and our own sacred paths, and not letting anybody or anything deter us from that. This is all about honoring your sacred path, and that's exactly what my own divine masculine had said when I was questioning myself, when I was saying, am I missing something? Is there something that I'm missing? Because I understand the darkness, I see it, I understand what people are experiencing, but I feel so far removed from it. It's because I have been in the energy of transmuting it. I've already experienced my own darkness, my own experience. I've already experienced what the collective is experiencing now through my own personal experiences with illness. I've experienced the deception. I've experienced the denial. I've experienced the lack. I've experienced the delusion. I've experienced the negativity. I've experienced the agendas. I've experienced the conspiracies. I've experienced all of that within my own experience and awakening when I was sick. I understand it. That awakened me to what the world collectively is awakening to now. So now my job is to hold the frequency, to hold what I've learned, to hold the light, to trust my sacred path and not let anybody deter me. Your job is to trust your sacred path, hold your courage, honor yourself, have patience for yourself and others on their journey. Your job is to hold the light. So if you're experiencing a little bit of a crisis of faith, understand that you are love, and nothing, how do I say this? Nothing is out of the realm of the consciousness of love. God works through the realm of the consciousness of love. So connect back to the love within. I'm not getting anything more from these cards. I just want to hold them up here. We have transformation and judgment. This is what we have talked about. We're going through a transformation. We are going through an expansion. And so with that, we might be questioning. But allow yourself to question, because that is how you expand. Trust in the communication that you are experiencing in the highest level of love. Again, if it's being communicated to you in an energy of negativity or lack or fear, that is not the energy of love. That is not then source energy itself. That is the infiltration. That is the negative dark entities that are attaching. Allow yourself to transmute that. Allow yourself to return back to the energy of love. And just, I want to hold that card up, because look at that energy that is in there. That is that sacred energy. That is that love energy. That is that love source energy. Okay, they're pulling back, so I feel like this wasn't necessarily a reading. This was just channeling through my own experiences. So if it resonates with you, that's beautiful. Then please take the messages how it resonates for you. And if it doesn't, then do, feel free to check out my other videos, my other readings on this channel and my sister channel. But if you're going through this crisis of faith, have faith. That's the biggest thing. Have faith. If you're questioning, what do I believe in? What I'm seeing doesn't make any sense. What I'm feeling doesn't make any sense. Allow yourself to ask those questions, and allow yourself to quiet the noise and quiet the outside chatter, because those are all distractions. You have everything you need within you, because you are connected to divine source God itself. You are always connected. So connect back to yourself. Connect back to the energy of love. This is a tumultuous time on this planet right now. You are meant to follow your path. That's what it means to be authentically you. To honor yourself, to honor your path. You might have people who are chattering, who are making noise, not out of a negative energy, but because that's where they are in their consciousness. But you hold your perspective. Allow yourself to expand. Allow yourself to shift beliefs. Allow yourself to shift perspectives. That is expansion. That is ascension. That is how you shift into higher and higher consciousness, by not attaching to one belief or to one energy. But hold the perspective of love. Hold the energy of love. That is how you continue to grow and transmute the darkness into light. All right, you guys, I'm sending you so much love, so much light, and we'll be back soon with another reading.